This is a BM Show special presentation.
Good evening. Tonight on the BM Show, an excursion into a world of fame, obsession, and fractured identity. The setting is Tokyo, the medium, animation. The moment, 1997.
Oh, it is time for another one of these. We are not doing the perfect storm, or we're not talking about perfect dark. This is not a perfect all kill. This is
a Blue Lagoon.
It is not the Blue Lagoon either.
Yeah,
it could be though. We don't know.
I can't. I'm trying to think of other movies that have blue in it.
I was thinking that too, and I was just thinking about like maybe a cop movie or something, and then I'm looking at Barrett.
Are we doing NYPD Blue?
There you go. Yep, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yes, this we were no.
All right, Ben, are you ready to get into Perfect Blue? Let me get the picture up, and there we go. Away we go.
Perfect Blue is a 1997 Japanese animated psychological thriller film directed by Satoshi Kon and produced by Madhouse Studio. Madhouse? Is that the name of it? Or is it a studio in Madhouse called Madhouse? This is great. I'm sorry. I stopped myself in the middle of that. The screenplay was written by Sadayuki Maruo, and it's loosely based on the 1991 novel Perfect Blue, Complete Metamorphosis by Yoshiharu Takechui. God, all these Japanese names. The film marked Kan's directorial debut and became an influential work in both anime and international psychological cinema. The story follows Mima Kirigu, a member of the fictional J-pop idol group Cham. Seeking a serious career, Mima leaves the group to pursue acting. Her transition includes a small role in a television crime drama, which gradually expands into a darker, more psychological, demanding material. As Mima's public image shifts from wholesome pop idol to mature actress, she becomes the target of an obsessive fan who runs a website called Mima's Room, chronicling her daily life with uncanny accuracy. Simultaneously, she receives threatening messages and begins experiencing hallucinations of her former idol self, which appears to criticize her choices. The narrative blurs the lines between reality, performance, and delusion. As violent incidents occur around her, Mima's grip on reality deteriorates, leading to a climactic revelation about identity, obsession, and fractured self-perception. I do my best to try to be like the guy from Secret Galaxy when I just realized that. I'm watching I've been watching more of that recently, and I'm like, I deliver it almost exactly like he does.
Dude, something just dropped from my desk. Okay, whatever. So before you go, Barrett, I have a question. Would you, Barrett, be willing to give up your opportunity to go first to let me go first on this one?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, good. Because what I'm going to talk about, I think, can have an influence on what you guys talk about as well too with this one. So I want to make something kind of clear here is when I jumped into this idea of doing these anime classics, I had to sit here and watch all of them before I decided if it was going to be a good fit for the direction of this. And there were a lot of them that I felt would be good, but they didn't fit because of the fact that, for instance, Vampire Hunter D was one of those that was under consideration. But I felt that is too similar to Devilman and Akira to really let in. I wanted to have 6 movies that are classics that aren't exactly the same. And saying that, I wanted to, it didn't matter if they were actually ones that I'm like, oh my gosh, these ones are amazing. It just, they had to be 6 classics that are different in their own way. So when I watched this, getting ready for it, I watched it thinking, man, out of all the titles, this one is going to be the one that's raked across the coals the hardest. And I figured that was going to be by everybody, because after watching it the first time, or I'm not, sorry, not watching the first time, watching it to begin this, I just didn't know why I got it. But there was something that didn't sit well with me, even going back to when I first watched it, which was the fact that the character, I believe her name is Rumi, which is like the manager, how she could possibly, if you're watching this at face value, how she could possibly fit into Cham so easily, and no one gives a crap that this middle-aged, overweight woman is now in a J-pop group. And I never understood like how this is actually going to truly work. So I came in here ready to just destroy this movie. But what I'm doing with each of these is I watch them again, because I don't know if you guys are going to watch them in English or watch them in Japanese. So I want to cover both bases and make sure that I'm fresh for this. So I ended up watching in Japanese, and there was a scene that hit me in this. And it's not really that big of a deal in Japan, because towards the beginning, she's doing some shopping. Now, Japan's not like America, because you're not going to be, unless you're like someone huge, you're not going to be like torn apart by just going to the market. So there's nothing different about that. But then it made me look at this movie in a different direction. And I noticed something else about her that I'm going to mention in a minute here, but it made me think this movie is very disjointed. You're watching something happen, and then you go back to another thing, and then you're watching another thing happen, and then it's back to this other thing again. And it doesn't feel like there's a steady flow, which obviously is intentional. And that's when it hit me. And I sat there watching it thinking, wait a second. What if the scene that she did, I don't know if I can say this, so you may have to blurt this out because I don't know how YouTube's going to take it. The rape scene, what if that never happened and that was in her head? And then it became, wait a second, what if all those deaths never happened? What if her acting career never happened? And then I even went further, like, what if Cham was always two members? And then what if there never was a Cham? What if all of this stuff that we're watching is just complete fabrications of this character who needs mental help or is in their own world so hard that they create it themselves? And something that also tipped me off on this is the scenes in her apartment. She looked like, the way that the apartment is laid out, I got this feeling that she was hikikomori, which, so you kind of know, Ben, hikikomori is like a hermit, but I think it has more extreme connotations than calling somebody a hermit does. Because like here, you'd say, oh, that person's a hermit. You think, oh, okay, they spend a whole bunch of time inside. They don't like going out. There, it's kind of like they're not part of the whole society. They're like, they've completely, exiled themselves into their own house. So what if this was all just not happening? And I sat back and thought, this movie, I want to give it a thumbs down. I want to give it a thumbs down. But there's also another side to this. And I realize if you're watching this movie and you're the kind of person that watches it to just listen to it in the background, or you're the kind of person that's like, oh, I'll just throw something on, or you're just like, total weeb and you have to watch everything anime because you love Pokemon, I would say for you, this is definitely going to be a thumbs down movie. But if you have a group like we have here that's dedicated to watching it and analyzing it and talking about it, not just in reviews, but actually like talking about what you got out of it, then this movie completely changes. And I think you can get more talk time that way than actually the time spent watching the movie. And that completely flips it for me to a thumbs up. So, on this one, I figured, not knowing what you guys were going to say, because I already know what one of you is going to mention with it. I figured this was a movie that out of all of them was going to get 4 thumbs down, just straight across, boom, done. But I have to put my thumb in the middle on this one, because just depending on your situation, it's either going to be good or it's going to be bad. And
Can I go next?
absolutely, if Barrett says so. That's up to Barrett. Okay. So I realized there's a line in this movie that repeats. And I think it was completely intentional for that reason. And that's the line, "Excuse me, who are you?" Because that sums up the whole thing with this movie. So that's my take, thumb right in the middle, and I'm passing the mic over.
Okay. So I'm going to go on a quick tangent here to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they did an episode, I believe in season 6, called Normaling It. And in that episode, she is stung by a thing from one of these demons, and she wakes up in a mental institute and finds out that she's actually crazy, and all this stuff about fighting demons and everything that's happened in her world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer was just her delusions of being crazy. I was reminded of that by one scene in this movie that made me wonder. I love this movie. I hear you saying it's 4 thumbs down. This movie's phenomenal. I didn't know what's real the whole time. I'm on a trip the entire time, and I'm like, okay, so maybe she's the killer this entire time, and there is no super fan or obsessed fan, or maybe there is the obsessed fan, and he's the one that's killing everybody, or maybe it's been Rumi this entire time. Maybe she's crazy and she's in an insane asylum, and none of this ever happened. And maybe, and it's great. I loved it. And every time that all of a sudden one of these heavy scenes happen, they say cut, then they change the lighting, and all of a sudden it was just a scene from a television show. So maybe that adds to the idea that maybe she's insane. Maybe she's killing all these people and she's not in an insane asylum, and she should be, and part of her knows that. Who knows? Maybe none of this is happening, and she, like you said, she's a hermit living in her room. Or maybe she is a pop idol who became an actress, and she's so busy all the time, and that's why she's constantly waking up in her bed, because you ever get so busy where you don't know where the day went, and all of a sudden you're waking up again and then it's just another day. And how the hell did what hadn't happened yesterday? Okay, I guess I got to go do this again. It's like, maybe it's that. It's so many layers and so many things. Like, yeah, we all can talk about this movie and have 4 different interpretations of what is true and what is not in this film. And that is why I think that Perfect Blue, I'm literally going to buy this on Blu-ray. I love this movie. I can't wait for us we might do the live action one at some point. I don't want to give too much away, but I can't wait for that.
I'm floored. I did not expect that.
Oh, dude, you don't like Pulp Fiction, and I like Pulp Fiction, and I think it's like some of the same idea of like time manipulation and what's true and what, it's like, but then again, I don't know. I just like this movie. I like this movie for the same reason I like that other one where we had the woman who was either a psycho killer or she wasn't. Audition.
Oh yes, Audition. Yeah.
I like this for the same reason I like that Audition. There's 2 different stories in Audition. Either this guy had a dream about the perfect girl who turned into a killer, but she's actually just perfect and sleeping right next to him, or this woman is a psycho killer.
Yeah. That's left all up to you to decide.
Yeah, and this movie is the same thing. There's like 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6, 7. I don't know. You could actually make a study on how many possibilities are going on in this movie. Mm-hmm. Which one's the real one? Could it be that, yeah, she's just a hermit. She's been watching TV all day, and these are just stories that she saw on the TV, and now she dreamt herself into the story. That could be another, what happened, And that's why I gave this one a thumbs up.
All right. Barrett, I think you're up now.
Sure. Yeah. Uh, kind of stole my thunder there. I'd say the same thing. Love this movie. I feel like this one of the various animes that we've done in the series, I felt like going in that this one was going to have the most mass appeal. I've never met before someone who did not like this movie. So I figured, oh, surely people would like it. And yeah, for the same reason people said, I think it's really clever. I think that not only is it like keeping you on your toes with all these possible interpretations, but they're also each one of these interpretations is kind of, I think, there to be its own critique of issues in Japanese culture. Like, it's not just like, oh, yeah, who's the killer, who's not. Maybe there even isn't a killer. It's also just like, depending on which story you focus on or which possible interpretation, then it's like, it forces you to ask some questions of, okay, well, why is this even a thing? Like, how did we get here? And then you got to examine all these issues of contemporary Japanese culture, and I find that fascinating as well.
Yeah, I didn't even take into. I mean, I know about like enough about the culture and stuff that but I did like if there's any deeper things, I might have made like what I'm trying to say is there might be even some deeper things that I missed because I'm not as schooled on the culture as say you are, and that makes the movie even more interesting tonight.
Yeah.
So like it's a very it's thick. It's a very thick movie, which will turn some people off. Some people, they want it like, what am I supposed to think here? And this movie's like, there's a whole lot of things you could be thinking right now.
And that's why I mentioned that I don't think it's as good if you're just going in and saying, oh, I got an afternoon to burn.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Yeah. And some people, that's what it is. It's like, well, we got nothing to do this afternoon. Let's throw a movie on. And then maybe like, while the movie's on, we'll play a game of cards, or if it's a couple, they'll have some fun. They'll do something else while the movie's playing is the point. And here, this is like, you got to sit down and pay attention to it. And it drew me in, which is another thing. So it's not like paying attention to something boring. You are drawn into it. You want to pay attention to it. You want to know what's next. You want to know what's real, what's not real. Well, is she the killer? There's evidence that points that she's the killer. There's evidence that points that ugly fan is the killer. There's evidence that points that Romy's the killer. It's like, there's also evidence that points that she's completely insane and believing it, and none of this is happening. It's also like, how would you feel if you were a part of, like, say if you were part of this show and you left the show to go pursue something else like acting, and then all of a sudden your acting career is kind of but the show takes off? Because that happened to her. She leaves Cam takes off. All of a sudden, they're in the top 100. They're on the covers of magazines. They weren't on the cover of magazines when she was part of it.
Mm-hmm. True. Very true.
So it's a lot that draws into the maybe she's losing her mind, like because she's stressed out, and none of it's really happening except in her mind, and she's stressed out because she made the wrong decision, and it's biting her in the ass, and she is seeing it in real time. That all of a sudden she was the dead weight in the group. There's a way to see interpreting it. Because how much better they're doing without me.
And then she's going to create her career to be much higher than it really is.
Yeah, and then maybe she's still, and that leads into the idea that she's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Because she snapped after seeing that she left this group and now the group's doing well. Yeah, that's it. Like I said, there's a million interpretations. Like you could probably teach a college course just on this one movie. So
sure. So we still have Matt.
I'm still here. Oh my god.
Yeah, the one who has to get out of here. He hasn't gone yet.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I have to say about this movie is the moral, the whole, what it's all about. Ugly people are bad. If you have small eyes that are separate, like really, really, really wide, that means you're evil. That's what this movie says to me. No.
You're talking about the fan, right?
Fan and the friend. She had these little tiny they both had these little tiny eyes that were like really wide set apart while she looking.
Gotcha.
Well, thank you, Matt. Well, thank you, everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, I like this one's got a lot of depth. It's got like psychological stuff. It's not just like, just fighting, it's a lot more depth. It's as to paraphrase Ben, it's girthy.
Yeah,
So
girthy's another way of putting it too. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
yeah.
Like, even though like the character herself is a petite thing, this movie is a thick woman. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I just think it's a bunch of battles is shallow compared to this. Definitely, I get it. Yeah, I like that you didn't know what's going on, and one of the things is I kind of almost I usually don't like this, but I would usually like this one end on one of those. Did it happen this way or that way? More not as obvious. I know it's not 100% that it's the happy ending, perfect. Perfect blue ending, but I think if it had more of the wait, did that happen or not? Ending with that would have been a kind of cool kind of thing. But I mean, for the year it was made, they didn't really do that much in movies. So yeah, that's a little too much to ask for that time, but it's really cool. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, the ending felt a little light and it out of place and just how okay, everything's good now. Um, it could have had a little bit more depth at the very, very end. And I only picked that out because the rest of it was so deep and awesome.
Well, I felt like something interesting about it. I felt like the ending also hinted at Cham was part of the show. Her time in Cham was part of this drama if she was actually doing a drama. So she was never a pop star. She was always an actress.
Hmm.
So but that's another interpretation you can take it.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's all these pieces, and how do these pieces go together? Is it that she's a hermit and Cham just happens to be her favorite K-pop or J-pop group, or is it, that's one thing, or when she's in the mental institution and she knew of a group called Cham and it was her favorite group, so of course like she wants to be the member of it that breaks away, or it's yeah. It's crazy. You could you could literally like teach an entire course, probably like not just on this movie, but movies like this, and just like interpretations and like how to write it so that people have these type of conversations afterwards. I mean, here we are 22 minutes talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they they don't really explain. I don't think I caught it them explaining how she was hallucinating or whatever. And I think it was obvious to me anyway that her friend was like drugging her. I'm guessing.
Possibility.
And so I could have seen them totally do something with that where she's going, wait, did she drug me? And she's like does like a replay in her head of her friend mixing her drink, and then all of a sudden she's going, but was I actually just like in a hospital taking pills? Could have done all that kind of stuff.
That's another possibility.
And I mean, the ending kind of like makes it look like that it was Romy the entire time, but it's like, who's to say she's not imagining going to visit her friend or former friend at the hospital?
Mm-hmm.
None of it is what's real. And then it has it's yeah. So we keep talking about it, but like, yeah, this is other than Mike, everybody.
Yeah, I felt like I was gonna have like the nicest review for it, and it seemed like I had the worst review for it.
Hey, that's why I wanted to go too, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be like, if Mike, I don't know what the other guys are gonna say, but if Mike's not liking this, how much I like it, I'm gonna come in next and just be like, okay, Mike, what is the opposite side of this?
Yeah. If
Ben,
I watched it twice. I didn't watch any of these other ones twice. The other ones I barely watched them. This one here, I paid attention. I almost took notes just to solve the story. Never mind for the show. Go ahead, Matt. What's up?
so do you ever watch anime? Have you ever watched anime like in a phase in your life? Yeah, so I kind of thought like where I was going with this, I thought you probably wouldn't like it because like I'm just kind of guessing that anime wasn't your thing.
And it's not I haven't liked any of these so far. This is the only one I have liked. In fact, it was surprising to me. They not only did I like it, I really liked it. I mean, and I think it's just because of the style it is, and it just reminded me of other stuff that I've seen that kind of just throws you for a loop of, what's real, what's not real. And like I mentioned that Buffy episode, I mentioned Audition. I mean, Audition, what's the story there? Is he imagining it, or is this woman psychotic? That episode of Buffy, is Buffy really a superhero who fights vampires, or is she just a poor girl who's in a mental institution and her parents are coming to see her every day? Which one's real? You know? And in at least in the Buffy one, that's one of the things they actually verbally struggle with. Because she in the buff in the either one of the worlds, they go and they actually talk to her and they go and say, you got this one world where you're a superhero, and this other world where you're stuck here in this mental institution. I could see why you have the other world. Like, why would you want to be here?
There's another movie that does that, which is called Sucker Punch,
Okay.
that you may want to check out if you haven't seen it yet. It's the same thing. It's in a mental institute, but it's also in this very elaborate world where they're like, I don't know, I don't remember if they're superheroes or what they are.
Well, it's like when you watch Fight Club for the second time, and then you start looking for clues that Tyler Durden was a figment of his imagination.
Mhm.
The first time through, you think he's just another character in the story, and then at the end of it, you get to really, they tell you that he never existed, and then you watch it through again, like, oh yeah, I just saw him glitch, or something. All of a sudden, you see the telltale signs through the whole thing, and it's interesting to me to watch these kind of movies where they play around with stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of like Sixth Sense as well, too, does that too.
Yeah, Sixth Sense was great.
Yeah.
My first time through that, when I found out the truth, I'm not going to ruin it for people. When I found out the truth at the end of it, I was like,
Yeah,
That-
when they were like Soylent Green is people, I was like, oh shit, I gave it away. Sorry.
or The Village. Remember The Village?
Yeah, yeah.
Which in itself is a pretty mediocre movie. I really did enjoy the movie as like story wise, but the premise, I love the premise of the fact that, well, I won't give that one away either. But if you've seen the movie and seen the ending, you know what the premise is. But I love that premise, and I was like, oh, this is such a great movie. I watched it with my stepfather, who hated it, and I'm like, no, that movie was great, but here's the problem: I can't watch it again.
Yeah.
It's a one-timer. That's why I can't ruin it for people. That's one of those movies you cannot ruin it for people, because once you watch the Village, you can't watch it again. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what this movie reminds me of? It reminds me of, I mean, there are a bunch of things, and you guys already said a lot of them, but I'd like to add to it Memento.
Oh, yeah.
I hated Memento.
Yeah, these Christopher Nolan films, like I was just talking about, ending on a did that happen or not kind of thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, the one I will disagree with, I hate Memento. I watched that one. I could not wait for that movie to end. I was like, the whole thing goes backwards. I just don't like it.
Well, I don't remember anything about it because I have a very bad, I have a condition. I have bad memory. So, but the bonus is I get to watch my favorite movies over and over again for the first time.
There's certain movies I wouldn't mind forgetting just so I could experience them again for the first time. But some movies I'm like, nah, I'm glad I've seen it and I know to avoid it in the future.
There's some movies that I wish you would forget so that I can make you watch them again, like Tenet.
So I can hate it again.
Exactly. You never know. You might like it again the second time. You might like it through.
I mean, maybe. Oh man, Tenet. I would take Memento any day over Tenet.
Hey Barrett, I need to mention something to you at this point, and this is not a joke. Tenet is my favorite movie of all time.
Why?
I think it's just the mystery of it all and the way that time manipulation is done. I just thought it was a really interesting idea.
Oh, I'll give it that. Yeah, I'll give it that. I guess my beef with Tenet is just the execution. I feel like it's one of those things where I think he goes too hard with the premise. Like this is, you guys know what I'm saying? Like, what is like a soft touch? Like you could have a premise, but you don't like wholly rely on it because maybe there's like another kind of through line, like there's like a side plot of a romance or either something else that the audience can latch on to.
Mhm.
But like when you have a movie where everything hinges on the premise, and the premise is like a very scientific kind of thing,
Mhm.
then I feel like you're setting yourself up to fail almost, unless you can absolutely perfectly execute the premise. And I mean, maybe it's me just having studied physics a lot and being a real nerd of physics, but I like there's a lot of like parts that bother me with the execution of the premise in that. So I won't say Tenet is objectively bad. I'm not saying that. But for me, though, it just bothers me because I see all those things.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think Tenet is for specific people, not just like a general audience. But I mean, we probably shouldn't talk about Tenet on the Perfect Blue review video.
All right, so for our final tally, it's been
It's technical. Okay, this is hard because mine's in the middle, so mine can go either way.
good, 3.5, but okay.
So you might as well just say 3 thumbs up since mine's in the middle. It's really nothing.
Well, I mean, I feel like you gave it a thumbs up because you're saying like if you discussing stuff and you have a group of buddies to discuss it with.
Exactly. I mean, technically, I would give a thumbs up, but also know that it should get a thumbs down for specific people, and that's probably worth mentioning. So we'll take it as it is. This one did the best overall, by far,
All right.
because it actually got Ben to give it a thumbs up, and that is next to impossible to do.
So what?
Oh, and I want to add another thing too before we piece out of here. The animation in this one also I felt like was so phenomenal. Like they really, and granted, this is also a much newer anime, right? Like, so it benefited from modern animation techniques that speed things up and bring down costs and stuff. But even still, I mean, they did a lot of clever stuff. I feel like with the artistry and like even just looking at this still frame here, like just the details and like you can see like the emotion in just the way they drew this still frame of her face and stuff. But then the motion, they really used the motion though. Like there's so many haunting scenes in this, like especially what it's seeming like she might be losing her mind. And then part of why you think that is because they like show her kind of like tilting and looking toward the camera, like almost breaking the fourth wall. But like they animate it in this really creepy way where you're like, is this real? Is it not? Like, what is going on?
Mhm.
Oh, so haunting.
Honestly, here's what I think happened. I think she is a star. Or she was a member of this group Cham. She left to become an actress. It blew up in her face, and she decided, and she had a mental breakdown and went and just started killing people. Or maybe not.
For me, I stand by Shizi Kikomori, and she was never even in Cham. It was all something that was just a vivid imagination that she had. She wanted to create a world for herself because of the fact that she's Hikikomori.
But with that,
we should probably mention the next one, the final one. So we've messed with your heads enough on this. So no more messing with your heads. Instead, now we are going to mess with your heart on a title that is known to destroy a lot of people emotionally. And I believe this actually got big enough to where it was almost considered to be a live action movie here by, I want to say, Steven Spielberg. And that's going to be this one here, Grave of the Fireflies. So that's going to be for the next one. Just be ready for it. And as Barrett said, with a box of tissues.
Is just one of them die at the end?
You'll have to find out when you watch it.
All the fireflies die.
No. Oh, the fireflies. Well, Matt, since you haven't talked much, why don't you give the last word?
Nope.